Philosophy isn't a bunch of difficult sentences printed on dusty old books, as some seem to think. And Stoicism is only Exhibit A in favor of the opposite. Being a Stoic is understanding that you have no control over the world at large, but only how you feel about it. A figure almost deified in recent times, whose bust stands on the bookshelves and desks of many aspiring great men, Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius faced almost nothing but challenges during his reign. And he used philosophy as a guiding tool to at least not let himself be overwhelmed. So, did it work? As young men often do, Marcus Aurelius became infatuated with one of his interests in particular: philosophy. Not the philosophy he will later be known for, but cynicism. He tried to live modestly, with few possessions, bathing occasionally, away from power, wealth, and glory, as far from a statesman as possible. That is until family obligations came knocking on his door, or lack thereof, since cynics were homeless. It seems as though his mother put an end to his philosophical pursuit and set him on track for a more respectable career as the descendant of numerous statesmen. His new tutors, Herodes Atticus and Cornelius Fronto, became his introduction to Stoicism, a new infatuation and invaluable help on his new path. Everything, a horse, a vine, is created for some duty. For what task, then, were you yourself created? Emperor Hadrian chose him as his successor, but since his health began to decline as Marcus Aurelius was still too young for the position, Hadrian chose Antoninus Pius under the condition he adopted Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus as his sons to groom them all the way to the throne. Antoninus was by all accounts a logical, practical man. He built sturdy roads and large trade ports instead of grand monuments. He secured peace within the empire's territory instead of conquering more land, and donated from his personal fortunes instead of the imperial treasure. A lot of this rubbed on Marcus Aurelius, but not so much on his adopted brother, who saw parties and orgies as his preferred way of life. On his deathbed, Antoninus related to Marcus Aurelius a list of all the kings who had wronged him and who will be waiting for the transition in power to take advantage and attack the empire. With a drunkard as co-emperor, without having left Rome for most of his life, and the looming threat of war hanging over his head, the young man who had once no desire for power and wealth became emperor of the strongest empire on the planet. Accept things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. Marcus Aurelius had three choices regarding his brother: kill him, exile him, or let him party away his life. He went for the fourth choice: make him his co-emperor. Vologases IV, king of the Parthians, had recently moved into Armenia, as Antoninus had predicted, replacing the Roman puppet ruler with his own puppet, and the emperor needed all the help he could get. In 161 AD, he tried to negotiate with the Parthians to avoid bloodshed, but no negotiation was possible. A Roman legion, led by the governor of Syria, Severianus, moved into Armenia. The Parthians trapped it in the city of Elegeia on the Cappadocian frontier. Severianus put himself through his own blade and left his army to be massacred. This loss meant whispers of inefficiency back in Rome, plus the unrest for the situation in Britain and the crossing of Germanic tribes into Roman territory. It is the responsibility of leadership to work intelligently with what is given and not waste time fantasizing about a world of flawless people and perfect choices. In 163 AD, Marcus Aurelius decided to rip his brother away from the lavish lifestyle and send him to Syria to deal with this issue in person. For the next 3 years, Lucius Verus acted appropriately for the position of command Marcus Aurelius had bestowed upon him. After rivers of blood had flowed in the east, the issue was finally dealt with. Lucius Verus was now Armenianus. Let men see, let them know a real man who lives as he was meant to live. Though war and its depredations soon struck back, a pestilence joined Verus's army on its journey back home. The Antonine Plague claimed perhaps as many as 10 million lives across the empire. The cities in the east, so deep the claws of the Parthians into them, were no more than ephemeral acquisitions, and the Germanic tribes proved to be more than just unrest. Because a thing seems difficult for you, do not think it impossible. The Marcomanni Germanic tribes had been raiding Roman territory in the north since the middle of the decade. In 169 AD, Marcus Aurelius headed up to Gaul himself and joined his brother against the barbarians. The emperor had spent the Parthian wars in Rome, placating the Senate by asking for their permission at any turn, handling the economy, overseeing trials, and passing laws that benefited the populace. The people and Senate of Rome loved him. The army, not so much. Having spent no time on the battlefield, the soldiers saw him as a weak and cowardly man and will surely appoint their general as emperor given a victory against the barbarians. He took command of the northern legions that same year, the same year the Antonine Plague claimed the life of his brother and several of his sons. The Germanic barbarians were vermin to Rome, huge in numbers, easy to deal with in small troops, but difficult to squash completely given their elusive nature. It was a war of attrition, so much so that to replace lost soldiers, he recruited gladiators from the arena, a move the people resented. For the remaining 11 years of his 19 years reign, Marcus Aurelius, joined by his wife Faustina, spent his time leading the Roman troops against this menace. He dragged his last son, Commodus, appointed Caesar at 5 years old, believing that life on the frontier would temper all of that younger Lucius Verus he saw in him, the partying and the drinking. Also to build support of him among the northern legions, to make matters of succession more clear. 175 AD was the year Avidius Cassius, governor of Syria, claimed himself emperor after receiving news of Marcus Aurelius' poor health. However, one of his centurions quickly put him down after he failed to amass a force larger than that of the emperor. Faustina passed away that same year, but the emperor still marched on with his duty, and even pardoned the rebels. Stay calm and serene, regardless of what life throws at you. By 177 AD, Commodus ruled alongside him as co-emperor. By 180 AD, Marcus Aurelius' last year of his reign and life, the empire was more or less in no best or worse shape than it was before. The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. Commodus, though it was clear from the beginning, was too gullible and susceptible to be a slave to his companions' opinions, but adopting someone else to become emperor, as had been tradition for the last few, and for which it was too late, would bring back the threat of civil war, a death sentence for Rome in the wake of barbarian influence. Even in his final days, philosophy provided a guide. He tried finding a solution a co-emperor for his son from within his family, a guardian that could set him on the right path after the emperor's departure from this plane of existence, for anything else was out of his control. Don't return to philosophy as a taskmaster, but as patients seek out relief in a treatment of sore eyes, or a dressing for a burn, or from an ointment. Regarding it this way, you'll obey reason without putting it on display and rest easy in its care.